Lucy, we are on Yud Aleph Amud Beis by the Mishnah, learning as Chutz for Shlema Filan Chayav Asarach and Shira Bashalamis. Look the Mishnah. HaPesach sheshachtu shachris barba also shaloi lishma. So the Torah says about the carbon Pesach. V'haylechem lemishmeres ad arba also yom lachodesh hazeh shachtu oisei kol kahal adas Yisrael bein harboyim. Pasuk says that the carbon Pesach should be slaughtered bein harboyim. So the standard taich of bein harboyim, I don't know how we think about it. I always thought it meant bein hashmashos, but that's totally wrong. Bein harboyim means, the way our Gemara, the standard explanation of it is that it means between the times that it gets dark. So it first starts getting dark every day at midday. That's when the sun starts going down. It starts getting darker. And then when it's nightfall at Shkia, it concludes getting dark. That's the next time that it gets darker. The day is over and it gets to fully night. So Bein Arbayim means the time, means the afternoon. It means between midday and the night. So the Torah is saying that you have to shech the carbon Pesach in the afternoon of the 14th, on Erev Pesach. What happens if someone shechted a carbon Pesach on that morning? Shachris barbasa, shaloi lishma, and he did shaloi lishma. So, as we know, the din is if you bring a carbon Pesach shaloi lishma before, and it's not Pesach, so then it becomes a shlomim, and it's a din of a shlom shaloi lishma, which is kosher. So Rabbi Yeshua machsher. Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher. It's as if he did it shaloi bizmane. Well, we said that a carbon Pesach shaloi lishma is possible. That's only bizmane. On bizmane, the way Rabbi Yeshua is understanding it, is only the afternoon of the 14th. Ben Beseira paisel. Ben Beseira says it's possible. It's treated as if there was a shechita in the afternoon, even though it was in the morning. It's treated as if it was nishchat in the afternoon. And bizmanai, and then it's a Pesach that you shechted shaloi lishmoi bizmanai. It's going to be possible. Amashim ben Azai mekubal ani mipi shivim v'shnayim zokin b'yom shehishivu es Rebbe Eliezer. I was mekabel on the day that, if you remember the whole story, that they kicked out Rebbe Gamliel because he refused to accept the psak of the Bezdin. So then they placed Rebbe Eliezer and Azariah in his place. So on that day, I was makabel. Shekol hazvachim anacholim. All this is a different din. After the first one, we'll get back to the first one. We'll learn the Gemara. He's saying a second din. Any carbon that is eaten, shenizbechu shaloi l'shmon ksherin, el shaloi l'bayim mishum chayva. Chutz min ha'pesach v'nachatas. He says, rather than we said at the beginning of the Masechta that kol hazvachim are kosher, he says it it's not kol hazvachim, it's kol hazvachim hanecholim, and except for Pesach and chatas that are always going to be possible. The only difference between the Ben Azai's formulation and our original formulation in the first Mishnah, we said kol hazvachim, and he said kol hazvachim hanecholim. So the only difference is going to be an oila. An oila is the only thing that's not eaten, even though a chatas is eaten by the kaihanim. It doesn't make a difference. The chatas is anyway excluded, but everything else is eaten to some extent. The Chum did not agree with him, like we saw in the first Mishnah. They say kol hazvach. Back to the first din that we said, that a machlokes between Rabbi Yeshua and Ben Beseira. Rabbi Yeshua is machshir a carbon Pesach that was brought shaloi l'shma in the morning of the 14th, because it's treated as if it was not done bizmanai, and Ben Beseira disagrees. He says no, it's possible. So we're going to see different explanations. What is the status of the morning of the 14th? Why is it like this? Amar Belaz, Amar Ba'ishia, machshir hay Ben Beseira. The reason why Ben Beseira said it's going to be kosher on the morning of 14th, that it's not considered Bismanei bepesach shachtu shachas ba'arba asa l'shmoi. I'm sorry. Pesach shachtu ba'arba asa l'shmoi. The kula yuma, but Ben Beseira, he wasn't only machshir on the morning of the 14th. The reason for him is because he holds that a Pesach that was shechted on the morning of the 14th l'shmoi, if he intended it to be a Pesach, it's going to be kosher. The kula yuma zmanihu. He holds the whole day is really the zman of the Pesach. Even though it says bein harbayim, it means the whole day. Or my ki'ilu. If that's the case, why did he say? Why did Ben Beseira say that it's kosher when it's done in the morning? Because it's as if it was done at night. If he's saying that the whole day is considered bein harbayim, why is it called ki'ilu? I dam Rabbi Yeshua ki'ilu, amar iyu nami ki'ilu. Rabbi Yeshua said it was like the 13th. It's certainly not really the 13th. So he just used the same lashon. Zok Gemara. If that's the case, why does he have to make such a complicated, backwards way of stating his shita? He's saying that the whole day is the time of bringing the carbon pesach. You just say you could bring your carbon pesach on the morning, like the way we just said it, that he's allowed to bring his carbon pesach l'shmai in the morning, and his yaitz the mitzvah of bringing a carbon pesach. Why does he say if he brings it shaloi l'shmai, it's going to be possible because it's bizmanei? So if he would have said l'shmai, I would think that Rabbi Yeshua is maida shelo l'shmai to Ben Beseira. Since the day it still is the 14th, maybe Rabbi Yeshua is maskim, even though Rabbi Yeshua doesn't agree that it's going to be yaitza l'shmai in the morning, but maybe he agrees that it's enough still the day of it's still bizmane, since later on the day will be zane. We'll see svaras that it's not just stam that it's since it's roy for that day. That we'll say the Gemara will say svaras why that shataka be the case in the next explanation of Ben Beseira. Kamash Malan. So that's why it said it shaloi l'shmai instead of l'shmai. For the Gemara asks another kash of aksiv u'bein arbayim. What do you do with the lashon? It says bein arbayim, like we explained before. Bein arbayim l'chayra means the afternoon. It means between the time it starts getting dark and when it finishes getting dark. Amula breder of Eloi bein shnei aravim. It means between the two evenings. That means between the evening on the 13th and the evening of the 14th. So bein arbayim, or actually not the two evening. It means erev can mean the morning and the next day. So Rashi bein harbayim me'aloi sashacha ad shkia zacham. The hainu bein soif erev the esmol utchilas erev the orta. That means erev means the time it gets dark. So the morning could be one erev in the sense that it's the end of the erev of the day, the night getting dark. The night becomes dark and it stays dark till the morning. So the end of that till the beginning of the next night. In any case, bein arbayim could mean the whole day of the 14th. Practical Gemara. The Gemara, as we know, there's two every day. You bring two tmidim, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And it says about the Talmud, the second Talmud, that it's brought bein harbayim. But now, if we're teaching bein harbayim to mean a whole day, maybe the Talmud could be brought a whole day. The one we know that one is brought in the morning, one is the day. So how does that work? Since it says one should be done in the morning, it means bein harbayim doesn't. He's not saying that bein harbayim only means the whole day. It has two possible interpretations. So we can understand that either way, since it already says one Talmud is born in the morning, we choose to understand the bein harbayim to mean the afternoon rather than mean the whole day. It says, how do we know? Just because it says one is born in the morning, so would it make sense that one should be born in the morning and then the other one should be born at the same time? But maybe it means that one is born has to be in the morning, the other one you have the whole day to bring it. What's so terrible about that? So Gemara echad ba'boker. It says echad tasa ba'boker. Echad ba'boker v'leishnayim ba'boker. The mashmayis of echad ba'boker is only one is in the morning, not two. So therefore, we have to understand bein harbayim to mean in the afternoon. Okay, so that's the first challenge to this pshat that was saying that bein harbayim means a whole day. What about Neris? The Ner of the menorah, the Chsiv bein harbayim, that has to be lit. The Torah says, "Ba'alois Aaron es haneros." When Aaron would bring up the Neris bein harbayim yaktirenu, he would light them at night. K'tayris tamid l'fnei Hashem l'dereseichem. Hachanami de kul yuma kosher. Maybe you could. It doesn't mean you could light the menorah the whole day. It's not the case. The menorah was lit every night, every evening, right before nightfall. It says about the neris of the menorah that they were lit from the evening until the morning. The Tanya, and we learned a brayso. We learned in the brayso that means that it should be enough of a midah, that there should be enough oil in the menorah that it could stay lit from the night to the morning. So obviously, when it says bein harbayim, it can't mean that you should do it in the morning, because then you'd have to put twice as much oil. You'd have to put enough oil from the morning to do the whole day plus the night. So therefore, we have an indication, since it says me'erev ad boker, that tells you that it must be the bein harbayim over here must mean the afternoon, that you do it before nightfall. Davaracha. Another reason, another possible raya that the bein harbayim must mean the evening is when it says me'erev ad boker, is that there shouldn't be anything from the erev, from the time that you bring the menorah. There's no other avodas done from that time till the next morning, right? We didn't do avodas during the night, so from when the menorah was lit during the day, that was the end of the avodas of that day. So obviously that means it can't be in the morning. There was plenty of avodas done the whole afternoon. It must mean close to nightfall. So that's an indication that the bein harbayim over here does not mean a whole day, even though legabe shaloi l'shma, legabe the Pesach, we're talking legabe the Pesach bein harbayim, we're saying means the whole day, but we have a pasuk legabe tamid and legabe the menorah that indicates that bein harbayim means before nightfall. What about the third kasha on this taicha bein harbayim? Ketairis, the chsivba bein harbayim. Every day they would light the ketairis in the morning and at the night, and it says bein harbayim hachanami de kul yuma kosher. Maybe the ketairis also should be kosher a whole day. So shani ketairis the iskish leneris. There's a hekesh between the ketairis and the neris. It says bahalis. Like we said in the pasuk, I'm sorry. Bahalis Aranis Aneris Bein Harbayim Yaktirenu Ketairis Tamid. Then it says Ketairis next to Yaktirenu. Back to Gemara. Okay. So let's review what we're on the top of Yud Beis Amud Aleph. So the Mishnah had said a machlekes between Rabbi Yeshua and Ben Beseira about if you bring the Karban Pesach in the morning of the 14th Shaloi Lishma. Rabbi Yeshua says it's kosher because it's treated as if you brought it on the 13th, and the Pesach that's brought Shaloi Lishma outside of its time is treated as a shlamim, and it's a shlamim shaloi lishma, which is kosher. But Ben Beseira, the way we're understanding, the way the Gemara understands it is that if it's brought on the morning of the 13th, the 14th, that's still part of the mitzvah of bringing the Karban Pesach. The Karban Pesach can be brought even in the morning, so it's a Pesach that was brought shaloi lishma, which, like we said in our first Mishnah, is possible. So then we ask from all of these different places. We're saying Bein Arbayim means a whole day. What about by the Tamid and the Ketairis and the Menorah? That all of them, the Torah says Bein Arbayim, and it means by nightfall. And we had different psukim on each one that showed us that in that case, Bein Arbayim only means nightfall. It doesn't mean a whole day. So the Gemara asks, we have the same type of raya that we brought by all these different avodas that we brought rayas that the Bein Harbayim means nightfall, that it says by Pesach also by Erev. So the Bein Harbayim here also should only be by nightfall. So how could Ben Beseira say if you do a Pesach in the morning it's kosher? It's meaning if you do it lishma it's kosher, and if shaloi lishma in the morning it's possible. But Be'erev seems to indicate it's only this Bein Harbayim only means in the evening. That's coming to tell you that once that that doesn't mean that it has to be at night. It means that if anything else, it has to be the last thing that you do in the afternoon. It goes after other things that take place in the afternoon. The Tanya Uchadava. So Rashi says Uchadava. Second line, Yuchad Pesach leTamid. The Pesach comes after the Tamid in the afternoon. The Afagav the Kul Yumas Mani. Even though you can do it any time in the day, Ishaya Zman Shchitza Tamid Kaidim. It's coming to tell you that the Tamid of Bein Harbayim, the Tamid of the afternoon, comes before the Pesach. Even though you could have done it in the morning, and then it would certainly be before the Tamid. But once it's in the same time as the Tamid, then it's the same time. Shenema Boy Ba'erev. Since Tamid it only says Bein Harbayim, and by the Pesach it says Bein Harbayim, and it says Erev, so therefore the Erev goes first. Therefore the Tamid goes before the Pesach. Now this sounds very strange. Why would it be that if you do it in the morning, then we say the Pesach comes first. That's the right time. We're saying that it has to go after the Tamid in. And there's an example of that we're familiar with. The Amar of Yochanan, halacha, mispal shel mincha v'achkach mispal shel musafin ubein harbayim. We don't paskin like this, but it comes up every year, this time of year in Chaim Berlin, and maybe over here also. That the din is that you're supposed to daven musaf in the morning, but if you have a very long shachris and you have a long kiddush before musaf, and you start musaf at 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock after chatzais, the din is halacha mispal sham mincha v'achkach mispal sham musaf. Mincha is supposed to come before musaf, even though obviously you can't daven mincha in the morning. So normally musaf comes before mincha. But when Musaf is delayed into the time that you say Mincha, then Mincha comes first. I guess Tada V'Sheina Tada.
Is that how they both Karbonas? Musaf was the last thing?
Well, we're talking about davening. We're talking about.
That's based on Karbonas, no?
Musaf is based on Karbonas. Mincha is not based on Karbonas. I think it's just the din of Tada V'Sheina Tada.
So what do they do with Chaim?
I'm saying I don't think we pass them like this. I don't think this is the psak. We don't daven mincha first. I wish they would. It'd be great if they would daven mincha during that hour-long break. But Rav Hutner didn't allow it. He wanted everyone to be in Beis Medrash the whole day. In any case, v'halacha mispal shel mincha v'halacha mispal shel musafin. Dr. Mara. Ubein ha'arbayim dechsiv gabik teiris u'neiris lamali. So now we have these rayas, and when it says bein ha'arbayim by teiris and neiris, we learn that teiris from iskish l'neiris. But what do we need it for? If it says ha'erev, which tells you the evening, so why did you have also bein ha'arbayim, which we said it could mean really a whole day, but in this case, because it says erev, it means evening. Let's just say erev, and we'll know evening. What is bein ha'arbayim telling you? V'oid, Heishiv Rebbe Tachas ben Beseira l'divrei Rabbi Yeshua. In the Mishnah, right, we had the machlokes between ben Beseira and Rabbi Yeshua. That Rabbi Yeshua said that it's if you do it shaloi l'shmai, it's kosher because it's treated as if it was by the day of the 13th. And ben Beseira answered to him. So he said, if it's done on the 4th, they treat it as the 14th. So Rebbe answered to Rabbi Yeshua in his place, he answered him back, how could you say, it's one thing that if it's on the 13th, you could say that it's a shaloi l'shmai is going to be kosher because it's not at all the zman. But he says, even the morning of the 14th should be treated, part of the day is roy, the second half of the day you're allowed to bring the carbon. So Weiss dice from Rebbe that he was not understanding that the explanation of that he said that no one was saying that the morning of the 14th, even Ben Beseira, who said that you can that it's going to be possible if it's done in the morning of the 14th, he's not saying that that's the time you could bring the carbon pesach. He was just saying that part of the day is roy. As we're going to see in the next sheet, that's taco of what the next man was going to hold. So he says, "Vem isa kula roihu." The way we're understanding it is that according to Ben Beseira, the whole day of the 14th is kosher to bring the carbon pesach. What is he saying? Shemiksasoi roy. That his taina is that even according to Ben Beseira was telling Rabbi Yeshua that part of the day is roy. The way we're understanding it, the way Rabbi Oshia was understanding Ben Beseira, was that the whole day was roy. So what does he mean shemiksasoi roy? Ella Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan has a different understanding than the way Rabbi Oshia had understood what the shita of Ben Beseira was. I mean, Rabbi Oshia was at the beginning of the Gemara. That's what we've been trying to explain till now. He says Bein Harbayim means the whole day, and you could bring the carbon pesach the entire day of the 14th. So that no, everyone agrees Bein Harbayim means only the afternoon, which is the standard taitra Bein Harbayim, and that will answer all the different questions that we had asked. Alam Rabbi Yochanan Paisel Hayu Ben Beseira Pesach Shachtu Baba Asur Shachos Bein L'Shmai Bein Shaloi L'Shmai. He says, like he said in our Mishnah, that Shaloi L'Shmai it's going to be possible, and we're going to explain why in a second. And he says L'Shmai it's going to be possible because it's not yet the time to bring the carbon pesach. The carbon pesach is only brought in the afternoon, not like Rav Ashi had explained. But it's going to be possible also Shaloi L'Shmai Hayel Mitzasei Roy, since part of the day is roy to bring the carbon pesach. It's considered sufficiently bismanoi that the din that a carbon pesach bismanoi that's bought shaloi l'shmai is possible, even though you couldn't actually bring the carbon pesach now. But since later on in the day it's going to be roy, that's enough to make it that it's a carbon pesach that was brought shaloi l'shmai bismanoi. Rav Oshia had said that Ben Beseira holds the whole day of the 14th is kosher to bring a carbon pesach. So if you bring a carbon pesach l'shmai in the morning, you will yaitzu your carbon pesach. So therefore he says, obviously, if you bring it shaloi l'shmai during that time, that's going to be possible because that's bringing a pesach shaloi l'shmai bismani. Rabbi Yochanan is saying no, the zman of the carbon pesach is only the afternoon of the 14th. However, if you bring it in the morning, shaloi l'shmai, that's also going to be possible because it's still considered somewhat that, since part of that day is the zman of the carbon pesach, the morning is also considered sufficiently l'shmai that you're going to, sufficiently zmanai, that shaloi l'shmai is going to be possible. But of course, he says you can't bring it in the morning. If you bring it l'shmai, it's not going to be the din pesach because he holds the morning is not the zman of bringing the carbon pesach. It's not. It's sort of this man. It's partial in some way, senses it is this man. In some senses not. Legabe bringing it as a kosher carbon pesach. It's not this man. But legabe the din that a carbon pesach bezmanoi shaloi l'shmai is possible. It's for that it's considered zman. For basically lechumra, it's going to be considered the zman. Yeah. Negadav Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Avo scorned this shot. Imkain. Pesach kashel ben Beseira hechi mishkachasla. According to Ben Beseira, this should passel every single carbon pesach. It should become impossible to bring a carbon pesach according to what you're saying. Why? Id afrasheo in if he's going to be mafresh his carbon pesach on the morning of the 14th, dichay meikarahu. There's a din of dichay, which is going to come up throughout kachim. That and we've come across it in Nashim Nezikin also, that there's dichay etzel kachim, which is a concept that if something becomes set aside, it's incapable of being brought as a carbon, it no longer can be reinstated to be a kosher carbon. So this, if we're saying that in the morning of the 14th, it's impossible to bring a carbon either l'shmai or shaloi l'shmai. If you bring it shaloi l'shmai, it's going to be pasol alts pesach shaloi l'shmai. And if you bring it l'shmai, it's not yet the zman to bring the pesach. So during that time, it's a not kosher carbon. It can't be brought. So it's dachui, and it can never be brought. You can't bring it even in the afternoon. It was pushed aside. If he did it from the previous day, so good. So before the 14th, on the 13th, it's not dachui, because if he brings it shaloi l'shmai, then it's a kosher shlom. So that's not considered dachui. Dachui means that it's incapable of being brought at all. So the fact that it could be brought as a shlomim, it's not dichui then. But so it was capable of being brought then. But then when the morning of the 14th comes, he has to wait through the morning of the 14th, and then it's going to get dachui at that point. It's something that was originally able to be brought, then it got nidcha again before the zman that you could bring the carbon pesach. So Rabbi Vo was not pleased with this pshat. He says you're going to make it impossible to bring a carbon pesach. And Rabbi Vo tehela achachatzais. Rabbi Vo says, he answers his own question. The only way you're going to be able to bring the pesach is if you set it aside after the morning, in the afternoon of the 14th. So then you could right away bring it as a pesach and never got a chance to be nidcha on the 14th.
Vo's issue over here was that if you're able to give it on the 14th, you have to wait till the afternoon. No matter when you're makadosh it, it's going to be
the morning of the 14th is going to be matzah,
right?
Because like that was he said. He said bein l'shmai, bein shaloi l'shmai. You're not allowed to bring it. It's going to be possible. So it's a carbon that's incapable of being brought. So therefore, you have to wait till the afternoon to set it aside.
You have to wait till the afternoon to makadosh it, and you don't run into those issues.
Right.
So it was only in Mitzrayim that they would designate that the sheep like days beforehand.
So you're asking, why don't you have this problem in Mitzrayim?
I always thought like they figured like Karb Pesach, like we choose we prepare things weeks in advance. So
yeah, so maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason why Abaya does not like this shot. We're going to see Abaya is going to push to say that it could even be done earlier. Maybe for this reason that I know that l'chayr the minig is right. You tie it to just like they tied it to the bedpost. You're supposed to start being Isaac in the Karban Pesach, setting aside your animal.
Also means those coloring books possibly not a vote.
Just have it prepared in advance.
Yeah, like a wish, yeah, I guess.
Abaya Amafil Tem Meitzafra. Abaya says no, you could even do it from the morning. Ein mechusas man l'boy bayom. He says, although there's a din of dichui, but as long as it's going to be corrected on that same day, it's considered it's already not dachui. It's not. If you just need to wait a little bit of time, and that same day it's going to be corrected, it's not considered dichui. Rav Papa says, I feel even from the previous day. I mean, even from the previous night, that we're going to say it's not considered dachui, even if it was done the previous night, it's going to be kosher for the next day. As long as it's going to be corrected within the day, it's not considered dichui. Tani de Ber Bishmol, Leil Shmini, the din is that an animal cannot be brought it's not kosher as a carbon for the first 7 days. The pasuk says that Shari Kesavai Eis Ki Voled, when it's born, V'haya Shivas Yamim Tachasima, it stays with some mother for 7 days. And Yom Hashmini V'hala, from the 8th day and on, Yerot L'Karban Yishel Hashem. Then it could be brought as a carbon. So a meiser, you have to take all your new sheep or your new animals and pass them through, and you count each 10th to become Meiser. So Leil Shmini, on the night of the eighth day after an animal was born, Nichnas Adir goes into the Pashal, is Asher, to be counted as, to be, when you pass them through and you take each 10th, from the Leil Shmini, it already is able to be counted. Okay, Apoitruki. Like Rabbi Rami it says it should be for 8 days by its mother. It's mashma that the night already it's allowed. But then also says from the 8th day on it's going to be able to be brought, which is mashma halayla loichazi. It's mashma the night is not able to be brought. Okay, so what does that mean? Is the lila the night after the 7th day that the animal was born, is it kosher or not? Okay, it's a laila l'kedusha v'yoyim l'hartza. It means that at night he could be mekadesh it, and the next day he could bring it. So, but on that night, if it's not able to be brought, it's only l'kedusha, but not l'hartza. Why don't we say it's dachui? Since at that point it can't be brought, it first can be brought the next day. Vice dice that even the night is considered to be it's not considered mechutz zman as long as it could be brought the next day. It's not going to be dachay. Okay, we're going to have to skip. We're going to have to stop here and continue tomorrow a little bit more about this din of dichui.